Amara Johnson's perfectly manicured fingers froze over her coffee cup as Trevor's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. The screen lit up with a message that would shatter her world in ways she never imagined possible. "Baby, the lawyer says we can get at least $15 million from her business alone. Plus the house, cars, and investments. She built everything before we met, but I've been married to her for 3 years now. Community property laws will work in our favor. Just keep playing the loving husband until we file. Can't wait to start our real life together with all that money. Love you, Natasha." The blood drained from Amara's face as she read the words twice, then 3 times. Her husband of 3 years, the man she had trusted with her heart and her life, was planning to divorce her and steal half of everything she had worked 15 years to build. But that wasn't the most unsettling part. The most unsettling part was that this text was a reply to a longer conversation. Her hands shaking, she scrolled up to see months of messages between Trevor and this woman named Natasha. "The prenup won't hold up if I can prove she hid assets during our marriage," read one message from Trevor dated 2 months ago. "My lawyer says emotional distress claims could get us even more." "You're so smart, baby," Natasha had replied. "I can't believe she doesn't know what's coming. You've been playing this perfectly." Amara's stomach turned as she continued reading. They had been planning this for almost a year. Every kiss, every "I love you," every romantic dinner had been a lie. Trevor had been studying her business, learning about her assets, and planning to destroy her life while she slept next to him every night. "She actually thinks I love her," Trevor had written just last week. "It's almost sad how trusting she is. But hey, her trust is going to make us millionaires." The coffee cup slipped from Amara's trembling hands and shattered on the marble floor, the sound echoing through their enormous kitchen. She stared at the brown liquid spreading across the white tiles, thinking about how fitting it was. Her perfect life was spreading out in chaos just like that spilled coffee. Amara Johnson had built her marketing empire from nothing. She started with a laptop and $500 when she was just 20. Now, at 32, she owned the most successful digital marketing firm in the city. Her company, AJ Marketing Solutions, employed over 200 people and brought in over $30 million a year. She had 3 office buildings, a mansion in the hills, 5 luxury cars, and investment portfolios worth millions more. She had met Trevor at a charity event 3 years ago. He was charming, handsome, and seemed genuinely interested in her as a person, not just her money. He was a freelance photographer who claimed to love art and travel. He said he was drawn to her intelligence and ambition. He made her feel like she was more than just a successful businesswoman. He made her feel loved for who she was inside. What a lie that had been. Standing in her kitchen, surrounded by broken ceramic and the evidence of her husband's betrayal, Amara felt something she hadn't felt in years: pure, burning anger. Not sadness, not heartbreak, not confusion. Anger. The kind of anger that sharpens your mind instead of clouding it. She looked at herself in the reflection of the stainless steel refrigerator. Her dark skin was flushed with rage, her usually perfect hair was disheveled from running her hands through it, and her brown eyes were blazing with fury. But she was still beautiful, still strong, still the woman who had built an empire from nothing. Trevor wanted to play games? He wanted to use the law to steal what she had built? He wanted to manipulate and lie and scheme? Fine. 2 could play that game. And Amara Johnson had always been very, very good at winning. She heard Trevor's key in the front door and quickly placed his phone back exactly where it had been. She cleaned up the broken coffee cup and wiped up the spill. When Trevor walked into the kitchen 2 minutes later, she was calmly preparing lunch with a smile on her face. "Hey beautiful," he said, kissing her cheek. The same cheek he had kissed while planning to destroy her life. "How was your morning?" "Perfect," Amara replied, her voice steady and sweet. "Absolutely perfect." Trevor smiled and hugged her from behind. "I love you so much," he whispered in her ear. "I love you too," she whispered back. But inside her mind, she was already planning. Trevor thought he was the only one who could play the long game. He thought he was the only one who could pretend and scheme and manipulate. He was about to learn just how wrong he was. That night, Amara lay in bed next to Trevor, listening to him breathe while her mind raced. Every snore, every movement felt like another betrayal. She stared at the ceiling of their master bedroom, the room she had decorated with love and hope for their future together. Now it felt like a prison. She waited until she was sure Trevor was deep asleep, then slipped out of bed and went to her home office. She needed to understand exactly what she was dealing with. If Trevor had been planning this for a year, she needed to know everything. Amara pulled up her laptop and began researching divorce laws in their state. What she found made her blood run cold. Trevor was right about community property laws. Even though she had built her business before their marriage, any growth during their marriage could be considered community property. Her company had doubled in value since their wedding. The house they lived in, the cars, the investments. Trevor could potentially claim half of everything. But that wasn't all. As she dug deeper into the legal websites, she discovered that Trevor's claims about proving hidden assets could be devastating. If he could convince a judge that she had hidden money or property during their marriage, he could claim she was acting in bad faith. That could void their prenuptial agreement entirely. The prenup that was supposed to protect her empire. Amara's hands clenched into fists as she read case after case of successful businesswomen who had lost millions to husbands who had used the legal system against them. Women who had trusted their spouses, only to find themselves destroyed in divorce court. She opened another browser tab and began researching Trevor's background more thoroughly than she ever had when they were dating. What she found was disturbing. Trevor Andrews, she learned his last name wasn't even Johnson, which he had taken when they married, had a history she never knew about. He had been married before. Twice. Both times to successful women. Both divorces had ended with substantial settlements in Trevor's favor. The first wife, a real estate mogul, had lost her house and half her business. The second wife, a tech entrepreneur, had been forced to sell her startup to pay Trevor's settlement. Amara felt sick. She wasn't Trevor's wife. She was his latest mark. His longest con yet. She found social media profiles for both ex-wives. One lived in a small apartment now, working as a real estate agent for someone else's company. The other had moved across the country and started over with nothing. Both had been beautiful, successful women who had trusted the wrong man. Just like she had. As dawn light began filtering through her office windows, Amara heard Trevor stirring in their bedroom. She quickly closed her laptop and slipped back into bed, pretending to be asleep. Trevor kissed her forehead gently before getting up to shower. "Good morning, my love," he called from the bathroom. "I have some meetings today, so I'll be out late. Don't wait up for me." Meetings? Right. Probably more planning sessions with Natasha and his lawyer. "Okay, honey," Amara called back. "I have a busy day too." That wasn't a lie. She had the busiest day ahead of her that she'd had in years. Because today, Amara Johnson was going to start fighting back. After Trevor left, Amara sat at her kitchen table and made a list. She needed lawyers, the best divorce attorneys in the state. She needed a forensic accountant to protect her assets. She needed a private investigator to gather evidence about Trevor's real activities. Most importantly, she needed to be smarter than Trevor. He thought he had been planning for a year? She was about to show him what real planning looked like. Amara picked up her phone and called her assistant. "Cancel all my meetings today," she said. "I have some personal business to handle." She looked at herself in the hallway mirror as she prepared to leave the house. Her reflection showed a woman transformed. Gone was the trusting wife who had made coffee that morning. In her place stood a successful businesswoman who had climbed to the top of a competitive industry by being smarter, more determined, and more strategic than anyone who had tried to stop her. Trevor wanted to steal her fortune? He wanted to use her trust against her? He wanted to plan her destruction while sleeping in her bed? He had picked the wrong woman to betray. Amara grabbed her keys and headed out the door. She had a war to plan and she intended to win. Amara's first stop was the law office of Peterson, Hart and Associates, the most prestigious divorce firm in the city. She had researched them thoroughly before leaving the house. They had a reputation for being ruthless, thorough, and expensive. Perfect. The reception area was all glass and chrome, designed to intimidate. Amara felt right at home. She had built her own empire in spaces like this, where power and money spoke louder than words. "I need to see Robert Kim immediately," she told the receptionist. "Tell him Amara Johnson is here about a divorce case that will require absolute discretion." Robert Kim was a legend in divorce law. He was the attorney wealthy women called when they needed to protect their assets from scheming husbands. Within 10 minutes, Amara was sitting in his corner office overlooking the city. "Mrs. Johnson," Robert said, studying her with sharp eyes. "I know who you are. Your business success is impressive. What can I do for you?" Amara told him everything. About finding the text message, about discovering Trevor's history, about the months of planning she had uncovered. Robert listened without interrupting, taking notes on a legal pad. "This is more common than you might think," Robert said when she finished. "Men who target successful women, marry them, then use divorce laws to steal their wealth. Your husband sounds like a professional. Can he really take half of everything?" Amara asked. "Under normal circumstances, he might be able to claim a significant portion," Robert admitted. "But these aren't normal circumstances. He's been planning fraud. He's been deceiving you while gathering intelligence about your assets. That changes everything. Robert leaned back in his chair. Here's what we're going to do. First, we document everything. Every text, every communication, every piece of evidence that shows this was premeditated. Second, we protect your assets immediately. Third, we investigate his financial situation. If he's done this before, there might be evidence of patterns. What about his girlfriend? Amar asked. Natasha Cole. I already looked her up while you were talking. She's been involved in 3 similar situations over the past 5 years. Always as the girlfriend who helps manipulate the husband into divorcing his wealthy wife. She's as much a professional as he is. Amara felt a chill run through her. This wasn't just betrayal. This was organized crime disguised as marriage. Can we prove conspiracy? She asked. If we gather enough evidence, absolutely. Conspiracy to commit fraud, identity theft if he's hidden his real background, potentially even racketeering if we can prove this is an ongoing criminal enterprise. Robert handed her a business card. This is for a private investigator named Lisa Chen. She's the best in the business at documenting cheating spouses and financial fraud. Call her today. What do I do in the meantime? Amar asked. How do I act around Trevor? Like nothing has changed. Keep being the loving wife. Let him think his plan is working. The longer he believes he has the upper hand, the more evidence he'll create for us. Amara left the law office feeling something she hadn't felt in 24 hours. Hope. She wasn't helpless. She wasn't going to be another one of Trevor's victims. Her next stop was the bank. Amara met with the vice president of her private banking division and quietly began moving assets into accounts that Trevor couldn't access. She couldn't move everything without raising suspicion, but she could protect the most liquid assets. Then she called Lisa Chen. They met at a coffee shop downtown. Lisa was a small Asian woman who looked like she couldn't hurt a fly. But when she spoke, Amara heard steel in her voice. I've dealt with Trevor Andrews before, Lisa said. Not directly, but I investigated his second wife's case. He's good at what he does, but he's also predictable. Men like him always make the same mistakes. What kind of mistakes? Amara asked. They get overconfident. They document too much. They trust their partners too much. Lisa smiled. I'm going to follow him for a week. I'm going to record his meetings with Natasha. I'm going to document every move he makes. By the time I'm done, you'll have enough evidence to destroy him in court. That evening, Amara returned home to find Trevor cooking dinner. He was humming and smiling, clearly in a good mood. How was your day, beautiful? He asked, kissing her cheek. Busy, Amara said. Lots of meetings. How about you? Great. I think things are really coming together for us. He smiled at her with such warmth that for a moment, she almost forgot he was planning to destroy her life. What do you mean? She asked. Oh, just some new opportunities opening up. I think our future is going to be very bright. Their future. He actually had the nerve to talk about their future while planning to steal her life's work. I hope so, Amara said. I love you so much, Trevor. I love you too, he replied. As they ate dinner together, Trevor's phone buzzed with text messages. Each time, Amara watched his face light up. Each time, she knew it was another message from Natasha. Each time, she smiled and continued eating while inside, she planned his downfall. After dinner, they watched a movie together on the couch. Trevor held her close, stroking her hair, whispering sweet words in her ear. All lies. All manipulation. All evidence for her case. Because starting tomorrow, Lisa Chen would be recording every word, every meeting, every moment of Trevor's deception. Amara Johnson was no longer playing defense. She was about to go on the attack. The next morning, Amara watched Trevor leave for another day of meetings from her bedroom window. As soon as his car disappeared around the corner, her phone buzzed with a text from Lisa Chen. Target acquired. Following him now. We'll report back this evening. Amara smiled. Let the real investigation begin. She spent the day at her office, running her business while secretly building her legal defense. During lunch, she met with her forensic accountant, Patricia Williams, to discuss protecting her remaining assets. The good news is that most of your wealth is tied up in your business, Patricia explained. The bad news is that business valuations and divorce can be complicated. We need to document exactly what your company was worth on your wedding day versus what it's worth now. Can Trevor really claim half the growth? Amara asked. Under normal circumstances, possibly. But if we can prove he married you fraudulently, with the specific intent to steal your assets, that changes the calculation entirely. Courts don't like rewarding criminal behavior. Patricia pulled out a thick folder. I've been analyzing your financial records since Robert called me yesterday. Your business growth during your marriage has been substantial, but it's all been due to your work, your contracts, your decisions. Trevor has contributed absolutely nothing to your company's success. Can we prove that? Easily. He's never been involved in any business decisions. He's never attended company meetings. He's never even visited your offices except for the Christmas party. His contribution to your marriage has been zero. Amara felt another surge of confidence. Trevor thought he understood her business, but he had no idea how thoroughly she documented everything. That afternoon she had another meeting with Robert Kim. He had news. Lisa Chin already has some interesting footage, he said. Your husband met with Natasha for 2 hours this morning at a hotel downtown. They weren't just talking. Robert showed her still images from Lisa's surveillance. Trevor and Natasha kissing in the hotel parking lot. Trevor and Natasha entering a hotel room together. Trevor and Natasha leaving separately 2 hours later. That's adultery, Amara said. That's evidence, Robert corrected. And it gets better. Lisa managed to get close enough to record some of their conversation. Listen to this. He played an audio file on his laptop. Trevor's voice came through clearly. The lawyer says we should file next month. Once the papers are served, she'll be so emotional she won't think clearly. Emotional people make bad decisions in court. Natasha's voice replied, what if she finds out about us before then? She won't. She's too trusting. Too naive. She actually believes I love her. Amara felt her jaw clench as she listened to them laugh about her trust. There's more, Robert said. Lisa followed them to another meeting with a man who appears to be Trevor's divorce attorney. She couldn't get close enough to record, but she got photos of all three of them together, along with what appear to be financial documents. So we have proof of adultery, conspiracy, and premeditation, Amara said. We have the beginning of proof. We need more. Lisa is going to continue surveillance for the rest of the week. By the time she's done, we'll have enough evidence to not only defeat Trevor's case, but potentially have him arrested for fraud. That evening, Amara returned home to find Trevor in an unusually good mood. He had flowers waiting for her and had ordered dinner from her favorite restaurant. What's the occasion? She asked, accepting his kiss while internally recoiling from his touch. Can't a man surprise his beautiful wife? Trevor said. I just love you so much, Amara. I want to make sure you know how special you are to me. The manipulation was so obvious now that Amara wondered how she had ever missed it. Trevor was laying it on thick, probably because his lawyer had told him to be extra romantic before serving divorce papers. You're so sweet, she said. I love you too. They had dinner by candlelight, with Trevor being more attentive than he had been in months. He asked about her day, complimented her appearance, told her how lucky he felt to be married to such an amazing woman. All lies. All performance. All evidence. Because what Trevor didn't know was that Amara had installed recording devices throughout their house. Every conversation, every phone call, every moment of his deception was being documented. I've been thinking about our future a lot lately, Trevor said over dessert. Oh, what about it? Just about how we want to structure our lives going forward. Our assets, our investments, our plans. He was fishing, trying to get her to talk about money. I trust you completely, Amara said. Whatever you think is best for us. Trevor's eyes lit up. In his mind, she was making this easy for him. I think we should review all our financial arrangements soon, he said. Maybe meet with some lawyers, make sure everything is set up properly. That sounds like a great idea, Amara agreed. I want us to be prepared for anything. Trevor smiled and reached across the table to hold her hand. You're amazing, you know that? Most women would want to control everything themselves. But you trust me to take care of you. Of course I do, Amara said. You're my husband. After dinner they cuddled on the couch and watched TV. Trevor was more affectionate than he had been in months, constantly touching her, kissing her, telling her how much he loved her. Each kiss felt like poison. Each I love you felt like a dagger. But Amara smiled and responded with equal affection, because she knew something Trevor didn't. While he was planning to serve her with divorce papers next month, she was planning to serve him with something much worse. A complete and total destruction of everything he thought he was going to steal from her. The war was just beginning and Amara Johnson was winning. 3 weeks later Trevor made his move. Amara was expecting it, but the timing still caught her off guard. She was in her home office reviewing quarterly reports for her company, when Trevor knocked on the door. Can we talk? He asked, his voice unusually serious. Amara looked up from her laptop. Trevor was standing in the doorway looking nervous, which was strange. He was usually confident, almost cocky. But today he seemed unsure of himself. "Of course," she said. "Come in." Trevor sat down across from her desk, the same desk where she had planned his downfall 3 weeks ago. He fidgeted with his hands and avoided making eye contact. "Amara, I need to tell you something, and it's going to be hard to hear." Here it comes, she thought. The performance of a lifetime. "What is it?" she asked, injecting just the right amount of concern into her voice. I think we need to talk about our marriage." Amara set down her pen and gave him her full attention. "What about our marriage?" Trevor took a deep breath. "I think we've grown apart. I think we want different things. I think maybe we rushed into this without really thinking about whether we were compatible long-term." The lies came so smoothly, so naturally. Trevor was a master manipulator, Amara had to give him that. "I don't understand," she said. "I thought we were happy." We are. But happy isn't enough for a lifetime commitment. I think we both deserve more than just settling for happy." Amara felt her anger rising, but she kept her expression neutral. Trevor was actually sitting in her office, in her house that she had paid for, telling her that she wasn't good enough for him. That she was settling. "What are you saying, Trevor?" "I'm saying I think we should get divorced." There it was. The moment she had been preparing for. Amara let her face show shock, confusion, hurt. All the emotions a betrayed wife should feel. "Divorced?" she repeated. "Where is this coming from?" "It's been building for a while," Trevor said, his confidence returning now that he had delivered the news. "I think we both know things haven't been the same between us lately." "I don't know that. I thought things were fine. I thought you loved me." "I do love you. That's why I want what's best for both of us. And I don't think staying married is what's best." Amara stood up and walked to the window, turning her back to Trevor. She needed him to think she was devastated, processing the shock. In reality, she was fighting the urge to smile. "Is there someone else?" she asked quietly. Pause. Then, "No. This is about us, not about anyone else." "What?" Lisa Chin had dozens of photos and hours of recordings that proved otherwise. "I can't believe this is happening," Amara said, still facing the window. 3 years of marriage and you want to throw it all away. "It doesn't have to be ugly," Trevor said. "We can handle this maturely. We can split everything fairly and move on with our lives." Split everything fairly. Right. He meant steal half of everything she had built. Amara turned around to face him. "What does that mean exactly? Split everything fairly?" "Well, we'll need lawyers to work out the details. But basically, we divide our assets and debts equally. The house, the cars, your business assets, investments. We both contributed to this marriage, so we both deserve to benefit from what we built together." What we built together. As if Trevor had contributed anything except lies and betrayal. "My business?" Amara asked. "You want half of my business?" "It grew during our marriage. That makes it community property. I know it's hard to think about, but legally, I'm entitled to half of any growth that happened while we were married." Entitled. That word made Amara's blood boil. "I don't understand any of this," she said, letting her voice crack slightly. "I need time to process. I need to think." "Of course," Trevor said, standing up. "Take all the time you need. But I think we should both get lawyers soon. The sooner we start the process, the sooner we can both move on with our lives." He walked over to her and tried to put his arms around her. Amara stepped back. "Don't," she said. "I can't. I need space right now." "I understand," Trevor said. "I'll give you space. But Amara, I want you to know this isn't about not loving you. This is about wanting what's best for both of us." More lies. More manipulation. After Trevor left her office, Amara sat back down at her desk and opened her laptop. She had an email from Robert Kim with an update on their case preparation. "Evidence collection is going better than expected," the email read. "Trevor's pattern of behavior is well documented. Natasha Cole has been in contact with 2 other married men in the past month, suggesting this is an ongoing operation. We're ready to file whenever you give the word." Amara smiled as she typed her response. "He just announced he wants a divorce. Let's give him exactly what he's asking for." But Trevor wasn't going to get the divorce he expected. He wasn't going to get half of her fortune. He wasn't going to get anything except exactly what he deserved. Which was nothing. The real game was about to begin. 2 days after Trevor's announcement, Amara received divorce papers by courier. She had been expecting them, but seeing the legal documents still felt surreal. Trevor was actually doing it. He was actually trying to steal her life's work. The petition was aggressive, just as Robert Kim had predicted. Trevor was claiming half of everything. The house, the cars, her business assets, her investment portfolios, even her retirement accounts. His lawyer had crafted the documents to make it seem like Trevor had been an equal partner in building their wealth. The petition also included claims of emotional distress caused by Amara's workaholic tendencies and neglect of the marriage. Trevor was painting himself as the suffering spouse who had sacrificed his own career to support Amara's ambitions. It was all lies, but it was clever lies. Trevor's lawyer knew how to work the system. Amara called Robert Kim immediately. "I got the papers," she said. "I saw." Trevor's attorney is James Patterson. He's known for aggressive tactics in divorce cases. He specializes in helping men claim assets from their wealthy wives. Can he win? Under normal circumstances, he might be able to get a significant settlement. Patterson is good at what he does. But these aren't normal circumstances. We have evidence of fraud, conspiracy, and adultery. Patterson doesn't know what's coming. When do we respond? We file our response next week. But we don't show our cards yet. We respond conservatively, make them think you're going to be easy to beat. The longer they underestimate us, the more evidence they'll create. That afternoon, Amara had to face Trevor again. He returned home from another day of meetings, looking pleased with himself. "Did you get the papers?" he asked. Amara nodded, not trusting herself to speak. "I know it's hard," Trevor said. "But this is the right thing for both of us. My lawyer says the process should be pretty straightforward." Straightforward. Right. Stealing millions of dollars was straightforward now. "I got a lawyer," Amara said quietly. "Good. That's smart. Who did you hire?" "Someone named Jennifer Walsh." It was a lie. Robert Kim had suggested she give Trevor false information about her legal representation. Trevor's face relaxed. "Walsh is okay. She's not aggressive, which is good. This doesn't have to be a fight." It was already a fight. Trevor just didn't know he was losing. Over the next week, Lisa Chen continued her surveillance while Robert Kim prepared their real response. The evidence against Trevor continued to mount. Photos of him with Natasha. Recordings of them planning their strategy. Financial records showing Trevor's pattern of targeting wealthy women. But the most damaging evidence came from an unexpected source. "I found Trevor's ex-wives," Lisa reported to Amara and Robert. "Both of them. And they're willing to testify." Sarah Mitchell, Trevor's first wife, had been a successful real estate developer. Trevor had convinced her to put his name on several properties during their marriage, then claimed half of everything in their divorce. Helen Garcia, his second wife, had created a tech startup that was acquired for $15 million. Trevor had claimed he deserved half because he had provided emotional support during the stressful building phase. Both women had been destroyed financially and emotionally by their divorces from Trevor. Both were eager to help bring him down. "They'll testify about his pattern of behavior," Robert explained. "They'll establish that this is Trevor's business model. Marry wealthy women, gather intelligence about their assets, then file for divorce and claim community property rights. Can we prove it's a criminal enterprise?" Amara asked. "We're getting close. We found financial connections between Trevor, Natasha, and Trevor's divorce attorney James Patterson. It looks like they've been working together for years, targeting successful women and splitting the proceeds." 3 weeks after receiving the divorce papers, Amara filed her response. As planned, it was conservative and defensive. Her lawyer Jennifer Walsh was requesting only minimal spousal support and was willing to negotiate fairly on asset division. Trevor was thrilled. "Your lawyer seems reasonable," he told Amara that evening. "Patterson thinks we can settle this quickly and avoid a long court battle." "That's what I want too," Amara lied. "I just want this to be over." "It will be soon," Trevor said. "And then we can both start fresh." Fresh. Trevor would be starting fresh in a prison cell if Robert Kim had his way. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks later. Trevor's confidence grew every day as his lawyer Patterson prepared what he thought would be an easy case. Meanwhile, Robert Kim was preparing for war. "Patterson has no idea what's coming," Robert told Amara. "He thinks this is going to be a routine case of a business owner giving up half her assets to get rid of an unwanted husband. He's completely unprepared for fraud charges and criminal conspiracy evidence." "What happens when we present our evidence?" Amara asked. "Trevor's case collapses. Patterson will probably try to withdraw from the case. Trevor might even be arrested in the courtroom. And my assets? Protected. Not only will Trevor get nothing, but we'll probably be able to recover damages for fraud and emotional distress. You might actually end up better off financially than you were before you found out about his scheme. As the court date approached, Amara watched Trevor get more and more excited. He was making plans for his new life with Natasha. He was looking at expensive cars online. He was talking about travel and investments and all the things he was going to do with his half of Amara's fortune. He had no idea that his half was going to be zero. And that zero was going to be the best-case scenario for what he was going to get when this was all over. As the court date approached, Lisa Chen's investigation uncovered evidence that shocked even Robert Kim. "It's bigger than we thought," Lisa reported to Amara during a meeting at Robert's office. "Trevor and Natasha aren't just working together. They're part of a network." Lisa spread photographs across the conference table. "I've identified at least 6 other couples working the same scheme in different cities. They target successful women, marry them, document their assets, then file for divorce and claim community property." 6 couples? Amara asked. "That we can prove so far. The network has been operating for at least 7 years. They've stolen millions from dozens of women." Robert studied the photos. "This changes everything. We're not just dealing with one fraudulent marriage. We're dealing with organized crime." Lisa pointed to one of the photos. "This is the man I believe is running the operation. His name is Richard Sterling. He was Trevor's divorce attorney for his first 2 marriages." "Wait," Amara said. "I thought James Patterson was Trevor's divorce attorney." "Patterson is his attorney for your divorce. But Sterling handled his previous divorces. Sterling is also connected to the attorneys representing the other men in the network." Robert leaned back in his chair. "They've set up a criminal enterprise. The women in the network identify targets. The men marry them and gather intelligence. The attorneys file aggressive divorce petitions. Then they split the proceeds." "How much money are we talking about?" Amara asked. Lisa consulted her notes. "Based on the cases I can document, they've stolen at least $50 million over 7 years." Amara felt sick. She wasn't just Trevor's victim. She was part of a larger scheme that had destroyed dozens of women's lives. "What does this mean for my case?" she asked. "It means we have them dead to rights," Robert said. "This isn't just divorce fraud anymore. This is racketeering. RICO charges. Federal prison time. But first," Lisa added, "we need to document everything perfectly. One mistake and they all walk away." Over the next week, Lisa worked 18-hour days gathering evidence. She coordinated with private investigators in other cities to document the network's activities. She recorded more conversations between Trevor and Natasha. She even managed to record a phone call between Trevor and Richard Sterling discussing strategy for Amara's case. The most damaging evidence came from Natasha's phone records. Lisa had managed to clone Natasha's phone during one of her surveillance operations. "Look at this," Lisa said, showing Amara and Robert text messages between Natasha and Sterling. "They're not just planning to steal your assets. They're planning to frame you for tax evasion." The messages were chilling. Sterling had instructed Natasha to plant false documents in Amara's business files that would suggest she had been hiding income from the IRS. The plan was to threaten criminal prosecution unless Amara agreed to a larger settlement. "They were going to blackmail me," Amara said. "They were going to destroy you," Robert corrected. "Tax evasion charges would have ruined your business, your reputation, everything. Even if you proved your innocence eventually, the damage would have been permanent." "Can we prove they planted false documents?" "We can do better than that," Lisa said. "I recorded Natasha breaking into your office building 3 nights ago. She used a key card Trevor had made from yours. I have video of her placing fake financial records in your filing cabinets." Robert smiled grimly. "Breaking and entering. Document forgery. Conspiracy to commit fraud. They just handed us everything we need." But the evidence that shocked Amara the most was what Lisa discovered about Trevor's real background. "Trevor Andrews isn't his real name," Lisa reported. "His real name is Trevor Williams. He's been using false identities for years. The photography business is fake. His college degree is fake. Even his credit history is fabricated." "How is that possible?" Amara asked. "Identity theft and fraud. He's been stealing identities and creating false backgrounds for years. The man you married doesn't exist." Amara felt her world shift. She hadn't just been betrayed by her husband. She had been married to a complete stranger. Everything about Trevor was a lie. "There's more," Lisa continued. "Trevor Williams has a criminal record. Fraud, embezzlement, theft. He served 2 years in prison before he started the marriage scheme. Why didn't this show up when we ran background checks before?" Robert asked. Because he's been using a different identity for each marriage. Trevor Andrews is clean because Trevor Andrews is a fiction. As they prepared for the court hearing, Amara felt a strange sense of peace settling over her. Yes, she had been betrayed. Yes, she had been targeted by criminals. But she had also discovered the truth before they could destroy her. Trevor thought he was going to court to steal millions of dollars from a naive woman who trusted him. Instead, he was walking into a trap that would destroy not just him, but an entire criminal network that had been operating for years. Are you ready for this? Robert asked as they reviewed their final strategy. I've been ready since the day I found that text message, Amara replied. Good. Because tomorrow we're going to give Trevor exactly what he deserves. Justice. The night before the hearing, Amara couldn't sleep. She stood in her home office, looking out at the city lights, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. In 12 hours, she would walk into a courtroom and face the man who had tried to destroy her life. Trevor was in their bedroom, sleeping peacefully. He had no idea what was waiting for him tomorrow. He thought he was going to court to claim millions of dollars. He had no idea he might be going to prison instead. Amara's phone buzzed with a text from Robert Kim. Final evidence packages delivered to the DA's office. Federal agents will be standing by. We're ready. Federal agents. The scope of Trevor's crimes had attracted attention from the FBI's white-collar crime division. The marriage fraud network had crossed state lines, making it a federal case. If everything went according to plan, Trevor and his conspirators would be facing federal charges. At 6 a.m., Amara was already dressed and ready. She had chosen her outfit carefully, a navy blue business suit that projected confidence and competence. She wanted to look like exactly what she was, a successful businesswoman who refused to be victimized. Trevor was surprisingly nervous at breakfast. For weeks he had been confident, almost cocky about the divorce proceedings. But this morning he seemed unsure. You okay? Amara asked. Just thinking about today, Trevor said. About how everything is going to change. He had no idea how much everything was about to change. Are you having second thoughts? She asked. Trevor looked at her for a long moment. For just an instant, Amara thought she saw something almost like regret in his eyes. But then the moment passed. No, he said. This is what's best for both of us. An hour later, Amara met Robert Kim at the courthouse. He looked grim but determined. Last chance to settle this quietly, he said. I could still approach Patterson and offer a small settlement in exchange for Trevor walking away. No, Amara said firmly. He made his choice when he decided to target me. Now he gets to live with the consequences. Good. Because I want to destroy him too. They entered the courthouse together. Amara felt calm and focused. She had been preparing for this moment for weeks. Trevor and his attorney James Patterson were already there, sitting at the plaintiff's table. Trevor looked confident again, probably after giving himself a pep talk in the car. Patterson was reviewing documents and looked pleased with his case. He had no idea what was coming. The courtroom began to fill with other people involved in the case. Amara noticed several men in suits who looked like federal agents. She also saw Sarah Mitchell and Helen Garcia, Trevor's ex-wives, who would be testifying about Trevor's pattern of behavior. But the person who caught Amara's attention was Natasha Cole, sitting in the gallery behind Trevor. She was a beautiful blonde woman who looked nervous. She kept checking her phone and glancing around the courtroom. She should be nervous, Amara thought. In about an hour, her entire criminal scheme was going to be exposed. Judge Patricia Williams entered the courtroom at exactly 9 a.m. She was a stern-looking woman in her 50s who had a reputation for running an efficient courtroom and having no patience for nonsense. This is the matter of Andrews versus Johnson, Judge Williams announced. Counsel, are you ready to proceed? Yes, Your Honor, Patterson said confidently. Ready, Your Honor, Robert Kim replied. Mr. Patterson, since your client is the petitioner, you may present your case first. Patterson stood up and walked to the podium. He was smooth and professional as he outlined Trevor's claims. Your Honor, my client Trevor Andrews entered into marriage with the defendant 3 years ago. During that time, Mrs. Johnson's business empire grew substantially. My client supported her career, sacrificed his own professional opportunities, and contributed to the emotional and practical foundation that made her success possible. Patterson continued for 20 minutes, painting Trevor as a devoted husband who deserved compensation for his sacrifices. He requested half of all marital assets, including Amara's business growth, real estate, and investment portfolios. Mr. Andrews is not seeking to punish his wife, Patterson concluded. He simply wants fair compensation for his contributions to their joint success. When Patterson finished, Judge Williams turned to Robert Kim. Counsel for the defendant? Robert stood up slowly. Your Honor, before I present my client's case, I need to bring several matters to the court's attention. Matters that will fundamentally change the nature of these proceedings. Patterson looked confused. This wasn't how divorce cases usually went. What kind of matters? Judge Williams asked. Evidence of fraud, Your Honor. Criminal fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, and racketeering. The courtroom went completely silent. Trevor's face went white. Natasha started to stand up, but one of the federal agents moved to block the exit. Your Honor, Robert continued, what we have here is not a marriage. What we have here is a criminal conspiracy designed to defraud my client of millions of dollars. Judge Williams leaned forward. That's a very serious accusation, counsel. Yes, Your Honor. And I have evidence to prove every word of it. Robert walked back to the defense table and picked up a manila envelope. Your Honor, I'd like to present this evidence to the court. Trevor was no longer looking confident. He was looking terrified, because he was finally beginning to understand that his perfect plan had fallen apart. And the woman he had tried to destroy was about to destroy him instead. Judge Williams took the envelope from Robert Kim with a curious expression. The courtroom was completely silent as she opened it and began reviewing the contents. Amara watched Trevor's face as the judge read. His confidence was gone. His hands were shaking. He kept glancing back at Natasha, who looked like she was ready to run. Mr. Patterson, Judge Williams said after several minutes. Are you aware of the evidence contained in this envelope? Patterson looked confused. No, Your Honor. What evidence? Judge Williams held up one of the documents. Surveillance photographs of your client with a woman named Natasha Cole, taken 3 days ago at the downtown Marriott. Trevor's face went completely white. Photos documenting what appears to be an ongoing romantic relationship that began before your client filed for divorce, the judge continued. Patterson was staring at Trevor in shock. Your Honor, I was not aware of any extramarital relationship. There's more, Judge Williams said, holding up another document. Audio recordings of your client and Ms. Cole discussing their plan to defraud the defendant of millions of dollars. The judge inserted a USB drive into her computer and played one of Lisa Chen's recordings. Trevor's voice filled the courtroom. She's too trusting. Too naive. She actually believes I love her. But her trust is going to make us millionaires. The courtroom erupted. Patterson jumped to his feet. Your Honor, I need to confer with my client immediately. Sit down, Mr. Patterson, Judge Williams said firmly. We're not finished. She held up more documents. Evidence that your client has been married twice before under different names to successful businesswomen who lost substantial assets in their divorces. Trevor tried to stand up, but Judge Williams's voice stopped him. Mr. Andrews, or should I say Mr. Williams, you will remain seated. The judge continued reading. Evidence that your client is part of a criminal network that has been targeting and defrauding successful women for years. Evidence that false documents were planted in the defendant's business files in an attempt to frame her for tax evasion. Patterson was frantically whispering to Trevor, but Trevor wasn't responding. He was staring at Amara with a look of complete shock. And finally, Judge Williams said, evidence that your client has been using a false identity throughout this marriage. His real name is Trevor Williams, and he has a criminal record for fraud and embezzlement. Judge Williams set down the documents and looked directly at Trevor. Mr. Williams, you are not entitled to any portion of the defendant's assets. In fact, you are not entitled to anything except what you brought into this marriage, which according to these documents was nothing but lies and criminal intent. She turned to Robert Kim. Counsel, I assume you have additional witnesses to corroborate this evidence? Yes, Your Honor. I call Sarah Mitchell to the stand. Sarah Mitchell, Trevor's first ex-wife, walked to the witness stand. She was sworn in and began her testimony. Trevor Williams, the man sitting at that table, married me 5 years ago under the name Trevor Andrews. He convinced me to put his name on several properties during our marriage, then filed for divorce and claimed half of my real estate empire. Sarah's voice was steady but filled with anger. He destroyed my business, my financial security, and my ability to trust. I lost everything because I believed his lies. Robert called Helen Garcia next. Her testimony was similar but even more damaging. Trevor presented himself as a supportive husband while I was building my tech company. He gathered intelligence about my business, my investors, my financial projections. Then he used that information against me in our divorce, claiming he deserved half of my $15 million sale because he had provided emotional support. Helen looked directly at Trevor. He is a predator who targets successful women and uses the legal system to steal their life's work. After the witnesses finished testifying, Judge Williams called for a brief recess. When court reconvened, her decision was swift and final. In 30 years on the bench, I have rarely seen such a clear case of marriage fraud and criminal conspiracy, she began. Mr. Williams, your petition for divorce is denied. Not only are you not entitled to any portion of Mrs. Johnson's assets, but this court finds that your marriage was fraudulent from the beginning. Trevor started to object, but Judge Williams cut him off. Furthermore, this court is awarding Mrs. Johnson damages for fraud, emotional distress, and the costs of defending against your fraudulent claims. The amount of those damages will be determined at a separate hearing. She turned to the federal agents in the gallery. Gentlemen, Mr. Williams and Ms. Cole are yours. The agents moved forward to arrest Trevor and Natasha. As they put handcuffs on Trevor, he looked back at Amara one last time. You planned this, he said. You knew all along. Amara stood up and looked him directly in the eyes. I knew from the moment I found your text messages. You made one mistake, Trevor. You underestimated me. You thought I was just another trusting victim you could manipulate and destroy. But I built my empire by being smarter and more determined than people who tried to stop me. Did you really think you were going to succeed where others had failed? Trevor was led away in handcuffs, followed by Natasha and several other members of their criminal network who had been arrested simultaneously in other cities. As the courtroom emptied, Judge Williams approached Amara. Mrs. Johnson, I want you to know that your case has helped us identify and stop a criminal enterprise that has victimized dozens of women. Your courage in fighting back instead of just accepting a settlement has made a real difference. Amara felt a sense of satisfaction she had never experienced before. Not just because she had won, but because she had helped stop Trevor and his network from destroying other women's lives. She walked out of the courthouse a free woman, with her fortune intact and her faith in justice restored. Trevor Williams was facing federal charges that could put him in prison for decades. Justice had been served. 6 months later, Amara stood in her corner office overlooking the city, watching the sun set over the skyline she had helped build. Her company, AJ Marketing Solutions, had just landed its biggest contract ever. A $50 million deal with a major tech corporation. Her phone buzzed with a text from Robert Kim. Trevor just accepted a plea deal. 15 years federal prison. Natasha got 12 years. The network is completely shut down. Amara smiled as she read the message. Trevor Williams would be in his 50s when he got out of prison. His days of targeting successful women were over. The damage awards from the divorce case had been substantial. In addition to keeping all of her assets, Amara had been awarded $3 million in damages for fraud and emotional distress. She had donated the entire amount to organizations that helped women rebuild their lives after domestic abuse and financial fraud. But the real victory wasn't financial. The real victory was that Amara had refused to be a victim. She had also helped authorities recover over $30 million that Trevor's network had stolen from other women. Sarah Mitchell had been able to rebuild her real estate business. Helen Garcia had started a new tech company. Dozens of other women had gotten their lives back. A knock on her office door interrupted her thoughts. Her assistant poked her head in. Miss Johnson? There's someone here to see you. She says her name is Rachel Thompson and she needs your help. Amara recognized the look in Rachel's eyes immediately. The same shock, the same betrayal, the same desperate need for help that Amara had felt 6 months ago. My husband just filed for divorce, Rachel said after Amara invited her to sit down. He's claiming half of my restaurant chain. But I found text messages on his phone that suggest he's been planning this for months. Amara leaned forward. Tell me everything. As Rachel told her story, Amara realized that while Trevor's network had been shut down, there were still predators out there targeting successful women. The fight wasn't over. Rachel, Amara said when the woman finished speaking. You came to the right place. I'm going to help you, and together we're going to make sure your husband gets exactly what he deserves. Which is nothing, Rachel said. Which is nothing, Amara agreed. That evening, Amara returned to her house in the hills. The same house Trevor had tried to steal. The same house where she had discovered his betrayal and planned his downfall. But now it felt different. It felt like home again. She walked through the rooms, remembering how violated she had felt when she learned that Trevor had been gathering intelligence about her assets. Now those same rooms felt safe again. They belonged to her and only her. In her home office, she opened her laptop and began working on a new project, a foundation to help women who were victims of marriage fraud. She had the resources, the legal knowledge, and most importantly, the experience to help other women fight back. Her phone rang. The caller ID showed a number she didn't recognize. "Hello," she answered. "Is this Amara Johnson?" The voice was young, scared. "Yes. My name is Lisa Park. I got your number from a lawyer named Robert Kim. He said you might be able to help me. I think my husband is trying to steal my business." Amara smiled. "Lisa, you called the right person. Can you meet me tomorrow morning?" "Yes. Thank you so much." "Don't thank me yet. Wait until we destroy him in court." After she hung up, Amara looked at her reflection in the window. The woman looking back at her was stronger than the woman who had discovered that text message 6 months ago. She was a survivor, a fighter, and now she was going to help other women become fighters too. Trevor Williams had made one critical mistake when he targeted Amara Johnson. He had assumed she would be just another victim. Instead, she had become his worst nightmare. And now she was going to be the worst nightmare of every predator who thought they could target successful women and steal their life's work. The war against marriage fraud was far from over. But Amara Johnson was just getting started. 3 years later, the Amara Johnson Foundation had helped over 200 women successfully fight back against marriage fraud. Trevor Williams was serving his 15-year sentence in federal prison. His criminal network had been completely dismantled, with over 50 arrests across 12 states. Amara's business empire had grown to over $100 million in annual revenue. She had been featured on the cover of Forbes magazine as the woman who fought back and won. Most importantly, she had never remarried. She had learned that her own strength and determination were all she needed to build the life she wanted. Love might come again someday. But Amara Johnson would never again trust anyone with the power to destroy what she had built. She was complete exactly as she was, successful, independent, and unbreakable.